look just like the buck dancing boy I said you were. You actually thought that was gonna work? Now I asked you to stop talking basketball with me because I wasn't talking basketball. But somebody named Self Talk, beautiful young lady, I haven't seen her yet, but I'm just assuming that she looked up at the numbers. Because the one thing I've always said to you, Mr. Stephen A., is that you're a clown and you're a buck dancing boy, and that you have no talent. And which you pretty much proved today or last night, that you did all that Macho Man Randy Savage pumping up, and you did all that to show stuff that the average everyday person can go find on the internet on their own. I didn't understand that. I think it was childish. I think it made you look stupid, and I think you continued the narrative and kind of proved what I was saying to be right. But if you thought that was doing something, that's sad.
Mama's cooking.
That thing
Iced
cold
tea.
now. Hey, look here. I ain't gonna show you what this is. Although y'all know what it is, because I'm gonna stop drinking. But I appreciate that. Who's that? Orange Man? You say I changed the game forever? No, I just want to change the way they talk about us athletes, because they try to make it like I'm just talking about me, but I'm not just talking about me. Is that something on my nose? It look like something on my damn nose. I just got lotion on my face. Anyway, I have example after example on the way that he spoke about certain people. But before we get into the numbers, let's talk about how this man blatantly lied on national television. He said he never got personal with me. He must think y'all stupid for real. I said he think y'all stupid. He said, no, I've never got personal with Kwame Brown. Really, bitch? Then he said, first of all, Mr. Jackson, not Jackson, Mr. Smith, you don't even pronounce my name like my mother pronounced my name. And Jalen Rose was trying to explain that to you. Shout out to Jalen Rose again. And then you came back with the same disrespect. It's like nobody can get your little effeminate ass in line with the respect that men deserve. You always have to have another reason to keep furthering the disrespect. And
he's dead on with that. He is dead on with that. Stephen A. Smith always continues to put, if you can't demonstratively prove Stephen A. Smith to be incorrect to where he has to backpedal on something, he literally will find a way to justify his excuse, to justify his way of doing things. He did it. We saw it in the video when Jalen Rose was trying to ask him why he keep calling him Kwame and why he be saying it all slow and shit. And he gave a whole like rant on why he calls him that. Like, but dude, that's not his name. Like, you're not saying his name right. Like, my name is Uche. It's spelled U-C-H-E. A lot of people say Uche. I wouldn't just let them continue calling me Uche. Like, you're going to say Uche. Eventually, you're going to say it, or you're not going to be around me. Like, don't be saying my name the wrong way. Especially as somebody who's saying it on national television, blasting that out to millions of people, Stephen A. Smith. I mean, come on, that's some whole shit. Like, especially when you've like moved, like that's like your name, dude. Like, if somebody's disrespecting your name, that's your identity right there. Like, of course you're gonna be like, yo, get it right.
And that's what's wrong with you. You're effeminate, boy. And this proves it, because a man stands on truth. And you got on TV and lied. You also said that I attacked Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, and neither one of them said nothing to me personally. It wasn't a personal attack. It was just about the game, okay? And maybe you believe that to be true because you were auditioning for a job 20-something years ago, because you wasn't shit. And you auditioned based on the fact that you wanted to disrespect guys further. Because I think the excuses you make, like your knee blew out, and I think you a woulda, coulda, shoulda ass nigga. So you're a little bit jealous of athletes because you think you were one. That's why everybody that don't believe that you won, you get them fired.
Oh, God.
Hey, That I can definitely buy that just based on my own experience and dealing with people. There are some folks who really hate because, you're an athlete. There are some people who see that and they really do be hating. They don't try to do it like out in the open like Stephen A does it, but they kind of like low key hate on you. I always heard. That goes back to like high school for me. I always heard things about people talking shit about me getting a scholarship to go play college football. People was, oh, just because he's big. Like, no, motherfuckers, because I'm good. Like, what you mean? Come on. But no, I think that Stephen A has gotten into his mind for some reason that because of his expectations and the fact that they weren't met, and this is the thing, I don't even think that these were Stephen A's expectations for Kwame Brown. I think that Stephen A didn't believe that Kwame Brown should have been a first overall pick. Now, if you know and understand why really Kwame was a first round pick or first overall pick, he was being pawned by Michael Jordan and the owner of the Wizards to draft him and trade for Elton Brand. That was the plan, but it didn't work. So they got stuck with Kwame. Kwame, I guess, it is what it is. He was the first overall pick, but there may have been a different timeline where Kwame Brown maybe isn't a first number one pick and he's maybe a third or a fourth or a fifth. And his career may totally go on a completely different trajectory because now he's not in that pressured position of being a number one overall pick. So he's allowed, he's in a better environment, first off, an environment that actually wants him. And then he's able to be developed at a more consistent rate rather than having overly damaging to the psyche kind of toughness put on him by Michael Jordan. So his entire trajectory could have been different had he not been taken advantage of. And so in seeing that, Stephen A probably saw that as, boom, I'm going to get on this guy because it's easy, because he's clearly, in Stephen A's eyes, not worthy of being the number one overall pick. Therefore, if he does not perform in an extraordinary manner of productive ways, then this guy's gonna go full on him. And he built his career on that. He built his career on the back of another brother. And that's where the fucking problem really lays. Because that's probably a much more accurate assessment of the relationship there and the animosity there because of that. That's crazy.
You one of them guys, so you found the way you can't do, so you found the way to talk and run your mouth, and that's how you got seen. But we're just gonna expose how you don't stand on no truth, though. So Matt Barnes wasn't personal. So they stop a fact, right? They stop a factual talking point that somebody was trying to make, because I know in your world facts don't matter. But it was 3 people in that trade. It was me, Javaris Crittenden, and Kwame and Mark Gasol. So she remembered too. That's cool. You stopped her, Matt Barnes, from stating a fact only to diminish me like I'm so insignificant that I don't need to be mentioned in a trade. And then both of you start giggling like schoolgirls.
That's personal. I would take that personally. Like that's how I felt when I first saw that clip on that All the Smoke podcast. I really was like, damn, they just gonna try and like omit that cat. I mean, and they're doing it as a joke, but still, like that's kind of disrespectful. Like even when like, and it's one thing if it was a joke, but they went so far with it. Like he's Matt Barnes is smacking Steven Jackson's arm, and they're talking to one of the ladies, or the lady who was part of the Lakers that I guess she helped set up that trade, and it totally went over her head. She didn't know that they were like making a joke, so she said it again. No, with Kwame Brown, and they like kind of played off, and then Matt Barnes is like, no, and then here comes Steven Jackson. Oh, that was a one-man trade. Like, that's disrespectful, dude, because she didn't get the joke. And even at that, she's at least, it's not even really about respect to her. She's like stating the objective fact. Kwame Brown was in the trade. What are you talking about? She doesn't get it. And they have already missed their opportunity to make that joke. So now they continue to go further in to kind of force the joke onto the lady. Like, and then they all start laughing. And the lady's really not even like laughing with him like that. Like, she's kind of like, okay. Like, but that's disrespectful. That is disrespectful, bro. Like that, you don't do that. This guy was sitting here. I mean, he's talking at colleges. Like, it's like his entire purpose for being there was to be speaking on different, you know, on things that are relevant to the now. And this guy was literally like going out of his way to talk about Kwame Brown. Like, for what? So, I mean, this dude is literally, I mean, I was kind of like shocked because I'd never seen these videos. But, I mean, this is how, you know, when they talk about Kwame being like going after people with personal attacks like Stephen A. Smith did, which was total bullshit because Kwame was just reacting, and anybody who had an issue with him on a personal level, he clapped back at him. So, Stephen A. lying, saying that he came at him with personal attacks, but let's look at all these different things that Kwame Brown has said. I mean, not Kwame Brown, Stephen A. has said about Kwame Brown. And I mean, it makes you think that there's something that he's mad about Kwame Brown personally, like real talk.
Call me, because I just said it.
Not Rasho. Hold on, skip. Not Rasho
I know where you're going. I didn't want to go there.
Slava.
Are they just rhetorical questions?
Go ahead.
Let me tell you something right now. Kwame, all right, I'm going to tell you why I say Kwame Brown or Rasho the Slava Medvedenko. I'll tell you why. Because you're Kwame Brown. You're 7 feet tall. You're the #1 overall draft pick, okay? You come into this league, you came in without a jump shot. You came in without the ability to rebound. You came in without the ability to do nice footwork, to pass, to rebound, to defend, to score points, or whatever the case may be. And it's a decade later, and you're still that dude. You've never worked and put forth your due diligence in order to take advantage of the privilege opportunity that you were in.
Is that?
See, and that entire last part of his little like rant right there, to me, is that's where you're going too far. Like, it's one thing if you're talking about a dude's basketball career in the sense of what your expectations were, but when you start going in and you talk about a guy's work ethic, you talk about a guy not taking advantage, not doing his due diligence, you don't know him. How could you possibly come to a conclusion like that and say that he's not working hard to improve his craft or to you know, stretch his career out? The guy played 12, 13 years. So it's those are the things that he does, that he goes beyond what is critiquing. He now is questioning the entire like heart of a player, of a competitor in his field of play that he's chosen for his life, for his career. You're now going to challenge that, and you're going to make an assumption that he doesn't work hard, or he doesn't have the desire or the want to become a better player. Like, that is total. That's some bullshit, because now that's personal, and it is personal, because if somebody questions your work ethic, like, and they question it in a way that he has, I mean, that's already cause for you to not like someone. And when you go after somebody like that for so long and use that as your entire platform for garnering, you know, views and garnering clicks and getting ratings, then now you're fucking with somebody in a way that is completely unnecessary, and it can be detrimental to that person's life. We've seen it. You've seen it. This cat is at Florida, what is that? I think it's Florida International University, FIU. This is a college. He's speaking to kids. You know what I mean? He's speaking to college kids. Like, these are people you need to be talking about and keeping the subject matter, you know, positive. Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. This is what Kwame Brown was talking about. This is what he was talking about specifically. that this cat really was going way too far. He was doing way too much, and now it's personal.
Noticeable improvement whatsoever. 10 years in the league.
And that's what
Feet tall, 260, 270 pounds. 10 years in the league. And there is no noticeable improvement whatsoever. That's my issue. You with Joe Scrub, no offense, having sex. Just said that. I mean, that's just blasphemy. You should apologize for bringing that up. And when I look at somebody, you have an opportunity to make millions of dollars playing a game for a couple of hours a day. You can't maximize that to the greatest of your ability and make it happen? You can't do that? That's inexcusable, bro. It just is. Again, if you're a scrub, you're a scrub. But if 5 years from now, you're still doing it, we got a problem.
That's a major problem.
You have nothing else to do. How come you're not better? How are you in the league for 10 years and you're still the same scrub you were in 2001? I have a problem with that.
See, it's like, like I said, this is some hoe ass shit, because you would think that this was a stand-up comedy show, the way that he's playing, the way that he's talking to those kids, the way he's talking to those college students. And if you look at what Kwame Brown's getting at, and when he speaks about the whole situation, he's getting at, why would you, as a person who is in a position with a platform and with influence, why would you go out of your way when you're speaking to kids who are clearly, learning and getting ready to go into the real world, going to the workforce, moving on from college? Why would you be talking to these people and tearing down another brother when this is like a time when you're supposed to really be telling them, trying to set a path for them, set a course for them to find who they are as adults, and that should be led off with having respect for your fellow man, having respect for your for people around you. And you just gonna sit here, and of course you're gonna talk about the things that people obviously know you're famous for. So you go right back to the things that you always do, and you just rip on a brother. Like, there are plenty of other players you could have ripped on, but that's the only one that he goes at on that level, because that's what really set it off for him in the world of ESPN. But he goes way too far, because, bro, you ain't even an athlete. Like, you don't have the ability to do anything that Kwame Brown did. Like, you don't have his abilities, period. Like, you don't even have the genetic layout to be able to accomplish what he accomplished. You're taking it to a level where it's almost as if you have a personal problem with this cat. So, of course, if I was him, I would have blasted on your ass too.
I went to a Lakers game at Staples Center, and there was a moment where they were up comfortably. So Phil Jackson decides to call Kwame Brown's number on 5 consecutive plays. That doesn't happen. Kobe doesn't get his name called on 5 consecutive offensive plays. He did that for Kwame Brown. First play, he bounced it off his foot. Turnover. Second play, turn around jump shot. Air ball. Third play, he got stripped. And then he got booed. Fourth play, jump hook, air ball. Fifth play, he just gave it up to the referee like he knew he was going to turn.
Kwame Brown.
Then they wasn't disrespectful. They go into their individual podcasts or individual live streams and say my life is dirt. My life is nothing. I buried myself. I'm a bust. I'm a bum, and I'm clout chasing.
See, and that's the thing, man. Like, you can't be like, it's kind of ridiculous to me to a certain extent, because in the NFL, I mean, regardless of where you were drafted, regardless of how much money you made, regardless of, how long you played, if you make it into the NFL and you make a 53-man roster, then you're in. Like, you're in amongst your peers. You're in. Like, if I ever run into a guy who played ball in a public setting, you know, there's an instant connection there because it's like a fraternity. It really is. Like, you're connected immediately. There's a little bond that's connected from just being in it. So there's an instant level of comfort.
That's not personal. Matt Barnes said he know I'm hurt. He know I'm crying for help. Somehow this angry nigga that jump over gates is somehow the most controlled Stuart Little psychologist, psychotherapist now. He knows everything about somebody else when he can't keep a woman and can't stop jumping over gates to fight motherfucker. Well, okay. And then he invited me to a boxing match when I'm the only one that wasn't talking about no fighting. So if that ain't disrespect, I don't know what is. If that's not...
It's another good point. Another good point. He's talking about respect. You know, respect is the base level thing that you got to have before you can deal with somebody. And these cats, as soon as he calls them out about being disrespectful about him, these cats talking about, fight me. Fight me. Fight me, bro.
Not personal, I don't know what is, Mr. Lion Steven Snitch. You also said Charlemagne was never personal with me. First of all, me and Charlemagne should have never crossed paths. Remember, I'm a bust. I don't deserve to be on the Breakfast Club. So it's so coincidental that I speak of this go along, get along game that somehow now Charlemagne needs to talk about an old bus after 20 years. Why does Charlemagne need to talk about a bus after 20 years? If it ain't no go along, get along gang and y'all running the same circle. See, you bitches easy to beat. I told you, you're done.
Charlemagne is actually invested in the All the Smoke podcast. He's partners with those two cats. So there's your connection right there. It shows that there was some talking going on after his initial assault. There was some talking going on. Them cats was trying to get a rebuttal from they boy Charlemagne. Little did they know